Alright guys, so here we are, finally, with our single target arena guide. It's been a while, but to be honest, I didn't feel confident enough to make this for you guys. But that changed when last week I finished in the top 10 in the world, and I felt like, you know what, after everything I learned from that, I feel like I was finally ready to show you guys these 4 great teams that will really help you guys climb to as high as you want, to be honest.
But before we show you the teams, you need to know this. And it's the amount of enemies you're gonna face for each round. And it's this. You're gonna face 1 enemy for the first 2 rounds, 2 enemies for the 3rd and the 4th, 3 enemies for 5th and 6th, and 4 enemies for the last 2. As always, this is on test server. This is the team that we're gonna show with the most common heroes that you can get. But since there are only 2 damage dealers, as in Salazar and Valeria, you need a very good gear. The real secret to single target arena is actually camping the spawn point. And the reason why is so that whenever the enemies spawn in, you're able to kill them very quickly. The reason why Salazar is so important in this comp is because of his burst damage during his ultimate. And with that, he's able to wipe out the last enemy. So make sure to keep it for the last enemy of each round. And that is why Salazar's and Valeria's ultimate timing is very important. You gotta time Valeria's ultimate so that her big nuke goes off onto the very last enemy. Since Valeria has passive healing, you don't want to put a healer directly on her, you want to keep her low health. But keeping Valeria alive is a little bit tricky, especially in the last rounds, so make sure to use Eloin's elf right before you pop her ultimate, that way she can get healed. Of all the teams that we're gonna talk about in this video, this is actually the least meta. And the reason is that Pope and Valderon actually are the main bulk of the damage of the other comps, while Torador only supports our main damage dealers. If you don't happen to have Eloin, you can replace her with Hollow, mostly because she gives out ray regen and you need to have Salazar ultimate as much as possible.
So this is my personal team that I like using the most, the one that got me to top 10 last week in single target. And it is a very good team that requires you to have a very strong Valderon. So weirdly enough, having Wailing Skull on Valderon isn't very ideal because you can't control whenever the spawn comes out and starts dealing more damage. So it's actually better to have Flux Pendant. Eloin is actually really important here because you really need as much rage regen as possible on Valderon because you want to make sure that he is ulting every single round with only one exception, and that's the 4th round. And that's where Salazar really comes in because he's able to help clear off that last enemy. So you might be asking yourself, why in the world are we using Magda? Well, it's not for damage, and the main reason is because she gives a huge piercing bonus to both Valderon and Salazar. Since she does no damage, you want to make sure to put her in a morale set, even though it's probably not going to be the most ideal for her damage wise. It's all about her supporting all the other real damage dealers. You can use Ardea in this comp, but I found her to be less useful than just giving Salazar and Valdi a boost. So even though you don't see Salazar doing as much damage as Valderon, he's still just as important.
There are many different compositions with Arbiters. You can do this comp with Init, you can do this comp with Ingrid, you can do this comp with Jera, but we decided to go with Alistair because he's the most common of the bunch. The bulk of the damage here comes from Pope and his ultimate hammer. Constance's ultimate is also very important as she boosts his hammer and everybody up, obviously. Valkyria and Alistair's ultimate are not as important. Keep in mind that you need to build your Serene with a lot of HP, and that is because if you don't have Constance's artifact, whenever she ults, she's not gonna heal her. She can be revived by Valkyria, but that happens only once. That being said though, you need to be careful when you build Cyrene, as you need to strike a very good balance between HP bonus, attack speed, and rage regen. Especially because she needs to survive the later rounds if you want to punch up. Just like with Salazar's ultimate and his burst damage, you're gonna time Pope's hammer at the end of each round to finish off the enemies. The real Achilles heel of this team though is that Valdi's team can burst through the very first phases very quickly, while Pope takes a little bit longer. For this specific reason, I wouldn't go challenging Valderon teams or even very high guns teams. There are versions of this team where you can substitute Alistair with Salazar, just to add that extra burst damage.
So when it comes to teams that have characters that I don't or Joe doesn't personally own, what I do is I befriend the people in the higher up, like top 10 of Arena, because when I'm up there, we're often chatting between each other in game chat or even on Discord, is I get them as a friend and I do a friendly face-off with them and I see their timings, right? And I see what works for them, and then I work my team around what I feel like is a good balance or where I think they might have, need small adjustments and whatnot. So that's exactly what I've done with this team here. So what's nice about this team is you don't even need a healer, because Gon can take care of himself. He will last until the later rounds with very little problem, especially if you use his ult properly. The main problem with this team though is that they don't have any form of burst damage, unlike all of the other teams. So what they make up for is they just have brute damage that is a lot less properly timed. Especially because since you're using Ardea, there's no way that you can even attempt to time out her ults. So this was 100% the meta team before Valderon came out. Now that Valderon's out though, this one hasn't been holding up as well, and you will struggle to find it within at least too many times within the top, let's say 20 or 30. But it's still a truly fantastic team that, as you can see, is really held up by the damage of Luguru. So when it comes to Cyrene's gear, even though we use the Guardian set on test server, we'd actually recommend that you use the Mana Spring set because you really need to prioritize Rage Regen. The thing though is that the gear that we use on the test server is never really precise and perfect, but it's pretty close to, it's really something what you should base off your stats for. But try to get around what we have on test server and you'll be plenty good. The thing though is that our artifacts are very precise, especially ones that we use on Salazar, because Salazar, I put Key of Forsaken because for him, Key of Forsaken is really good, and if you can't use that, the second best choice in my opinion, it would be Frigid Flame.
As you know, these teams are very hero reliant, but if you would like us to make a free-to-play guide, write that in the comments. And if you have any suggestions about the teams that we used and the heroes that we used, leave that in the comments as well.
Yeah, and as you guys may know, these kind of videos take a while to put together, so we'd really appreciate it if you guys were to hit that subscribe button, because we got a lot more arena videos coming in the future. So we appreciate you guys getting this far in the video, we really do, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Thanks for watching.